you see how many things now when you are listening strategically, you're listening for the specific parts of the statements. You see how many things we hear. The patient actually gave us change talk and sustained talk in almost every sentence. And the physician in this example is actually quite strategic, because if you think about the proportion of the change talk and sustained talk at the beginning of the conversation, and literally 5 minutes later, you see that over this 5 minutes period of conversation, the patient gave you a lot more of gold to work with. That's what makes motivational interviewing with people who are still not ready for action planning. So they're still very ambivalent. That's what makes motivational interviewing such a directive and strategic approach. We are not following the patients blindly wherever the patient wants to take us. We have a strategy in our mind, and we follow the strategy using some of the what we call micro skills, ORs. And we talked about the ORs, I think, in previous presentations. It has already been covered. Okay. Even within the statements, the change talk statements, there are different subtypes of the change talk. And this is important. It's not just for the sake of academic exercise. When we listen carefully and we got the change talk, there are different types of change talk. People may share the desire, I would want to quit smoking, but it would be really difficult for me. People may share with you their belief that they're able to do it, their ability. Oh yeah, I don't think I have an alcohol problem. I can stop at any time I want. Everybody drinks much more than I do. Sounds like a defensive patient, but the patient said something that I would definitely capitalize on. It seems like the patient believes he or she still has the ability to control. The patient might give you some reasons why it might be important. Well, I hate taking this medication, but my wife and my doctor told me that I need to take this cholesterol medication because my numbers are very high. Frankly, I don't like doing that, but I guess since they said that, it's important. Again, that doesn't sound like a highly motivated patient, but there are some pieces of the statement that may give me some additional idea what will be my next strategy. Patients can give you some need for change. Yeah, I hate this exercise place. I don't like exercising. But I know I need to lose 25 pounds because I don't look good, and I'm getting short of breath when I climb stairs. So I probably should go and do some exercise to lose some weight. Well, there is clearly the patient does understand there is some need for that. That's another strategy here. Or patient can give you a little bit stronger change talk. Stronger to the extent that you may actually start thinking about the action planning. It seems like the patient is already close to doing something about it. The patient may give you even some commitment language. Yeah, I will do it. I will go and I will sign up to this gym. I will pay the membership and I will start exercising. That's a very powerful statement. Whether the person had done it already, it doesn't really matter. What matters here is the patient gave you the language that you can actually start working with and capitalize on making sure that this change is more likely to happen. The patient may give you some what we call an activation talk. Yes, I am ready. I am ready to quit smoking and I'm ready to go on the statins, to start my medication because I can't live like that anymore. And I really want to do something about it. After so many years, I'm tired of being hesitant. Very important. The patient may give you a huge amount of change talk if you're lucky. And the patient already went through this ambivalence back and forth. And the patient may tell you, I'm already doing that. I'm already in recovery. I'm not using heroin for the last 2 months. Well, 2 months may not sound like a huge amount of time, but this is definitely something that I really want to reinforce, because apparently the person is already doing something this person had not done at any time prior to this point. So this is something that would be critically important for me. What makes it important? And what can we do? Well, in the strategies that I am referring to, there are certain skills that we can use and certain language that we can use. And by the way, this language is very cross-cultural. It's not just in English. In most languages in the world, actually, these strategies have been very carefully evaluated and they work pretty much the same way. Apparently, we're talking about something that is very fundamental in the human behavior, regardless of what type of culture or what language this person is using or the kind of culture this person belongs to. When we hear statements that indicate the need or desire for change, we can use some strategies, we can use some language to reinforce it. These are just an example of some questions that you may ask, or maybe statements you want to make, even if you can reflect, that would be even more effective. But at this point, there are some questions that could be very helpful. The questions about what do you think might be not so good about quitting smoking, because certainly there are some disadvantages of that. How do you feel about your future if you continue to live like that? What do you think will happen? What kinds of things you can imagine happening in your life if you decide to make change? These are questions that are particularly important for people who are extremely ambivalent. You might have a patient who says, you know, I don't think it's all relevant to me. I don't think I have an alcohol problem. I think it's my wife. She's crazy. She's behind. She's on my back all the time, or my probation officer, or my doctor. I don't know why they're kind of ganging up against me. And they keep telling you have a lot, you drink too much, you're an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic at all. What the hell is that? I don't know why everybody is drinking much more than I do. Why are you talking about my drinking all the time? This is not a problem to me at all. Okay? Clearly doesn't sound like a highly motivated patient. But if you have a patient who doesn't seem to be ambivalent, the patient is pretty convinced that you're wrong, the only thing you can do, make this patient ambivalent. And you can do it actually with a single question. Okay, I certainly appreciate your point of view, and I'm glad you shared it with me. But let me ask you, should you decide one day just to quit your drinking at any time, what do you think your life will look like? You see, with a single question, you're sending 3 messages. Should you decide, meaning it's your decision, it's not my decision, to quit drinking at some point, so you're not putting any time frame, you're making it hypothetical. Should you decide to quit drinking at any time, you may decide or may not. What do you think will happen? You're exploring the person's opinion. You're not telling the person what to do. You're not putting any time frame. You're not arguing with the person. You're not attacking the person's point of view. You show the empathy, the curiosity, and just by asking a single question like that, you automatically will make the person ambivalent. And now you have a material to work with, because the material that motivational interviewing works with is exactly the human ambivalence. Now you just created a lot of material, and if we listen carefully what the response is going to be, that will give us even more material to work with. You may hear a patient who believes that there's some ability to make this change. You will ask a different set of questions. What gives you the courage to go after what you want? What do you already do well that might help you? What kinds of things you're really good at, or what worked with you in the past to address this issue that you might use this time today? So this is a different type of questions, different content and different strategies. You might hear a patient who gives you the reasons. The patient is not particularly interested in changing, but the patient has some reasons to consider the change. And these are a different set of questions. If you were to quit using drugs, it's up to you. I cannot make it. I cannot fix you. I cannot do it for you. But if one day you decide to quit using drugs, what would be your reason to do that? Oh, I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They don't use drugs and they don't like seeing me using drugs. You see, the patient just gave you a hugely important piece of information. In the value system of this patient, the girlfriend or boyfriend are important people. And at this point, I will stop talking about drug use completely. I will start exploring what is important to the person. Tell me more about your girlfriend. What does she like? What do you like about her? What do you think she likes about you? At some point, we'll get back to the drug use conversation. But this is something that I will definitely put aside for a period of time, and I will continue exploring the important part of it. Why? Because if I do that, the chances are I will start getting change talk right away if I listen carefully. And this is exactly what I want, because this will be highly predictive of the potential for change. You may have patients who, if you're lucky, who already give you the commitment change talk. Yes, I think I will do that, and I think I came up with a decision. That would be a really nice idea, and this could be a good way to start brief action planning, because it seems like the ambivalence is minimal at this point. It's still there, but it's minimal at this point. So you can afford, you have a luxury of going into some planning stage of the interaction, making the whole interaction more likely to succeed. You remember in the video, the physician used the readiness ruler. Sounds like a simple idea, but there is a trick here. We ask a patient, help me understand it. On a scale 0 to 10, how important would be for you to quit smoking or quit drinking or start this medication? How important is it for you? You see, this is one of the examples of a very effective closed-ended question, because this is a closed-ended question. We are limiting the options for answering. But the closed-ended questions are not bad, and this is one of the examples. They just serve a different purpose. So help me understand it. On a scale 0 to 10, how important is it for you to make this change? And the patient may say, well, I have a lot of important things in my life. I would say maybe 5, 6. Okay, you don't argue with that. People who are not well trained typically will start by asking a question, why is it 5, 6? Did you see your cholesterol numbers? They're pretty high. Why it's not an 8? Well, if we do that, we just reinforce the sustained talk, because now the patient will try to convince me how much it is impossible to start the medication. Instead of doing that, I would be doing quite different thing, just the opposite. Okay, what made you rate the importance as a 5 rather than a 2 or 3? So I'm going down. And from this point further, I will start listening very carefully, because now the patient will start convincing me that this is important, not another way around. And the more the patient is doing that, the more change talk I will be getting. And that will give me additional material. This will give me pieces of gold that I can capitalize on. Definitely, in addition to importance, there is another important concept, is the confidence. For instance, those of you who work with smokers, if you ask most of the smokers, how important would it be for you to quit smoking? Many of them will rate it very high. Because most smokers, the common sense people, they will tell you, yeah, I know it's dangerous. I know it's harmful. But if you ask them, okay, how confident are you that you can actually make it? You will get a quite different response. Oh, doc, listen, I'm not confident at all. I've tried to quit smoking. I've used the gum, the patches, and I was able to stay smoke-free for 2 days, but then the urge was unbearable, so I failed. So I'm not confident at all. My confidence is maybe 1. Okay. Why did you decide that? What made you rate your confidence as 1 rather than a 0? Well, because I'm getting older and I feel some effects. So I'm not a teenager anymore. That by itself might give me, oh, okay, so your health over time with aging, your health seems to be a more important issue for you, and that you might be willing to address at some point. That's a good place to start, and build your more confidence should you decide to quit smoking one day. You see, by doing this readiness ruler, it's a very simple thing. But again, I'm trying strategically to reinforce the change talk, to get more of it, to get the client, the patient, talk about the potential of change more and more and more. And again, this is the example of implementation, the science in the clinical practice. From decades of research, we know it, that the more the client is talking about the potential of change, the more likely the change will happen. And another way around, the more I will try to convince the patient to do something about the health, the more pressure I will put on people, the more pressure I will get back. It's a part of human nature to push against something that pushes against you. It's a normal human response. There is nothing pathological here, and we cannot call this patient resistant. This is a normal human response. There is a big difference between ambivalence and resistance. Ambivalence is a reflection of my relationship with the problem that I'm having. Resistance is a reflection of my relationship with you as a therapist. And this is the major difference between ambivalence and resistance. We often use these two words interchangeably, but they are completely different. We also may use some of the typical cognitive behavioral strategies, decisional balance. What would be the pluses if you make the change? What would be the minuses if you do make this change? What would be a process of not changing anything? What would be the deficiencies or problems that if we keep it as is? And this could be the homework for the client. You don't necessarily have to do it in your office. You may send the client back home and agree for the next appointment, and this might be a homework. That will give the opportunity for the client to do some independent thinking and come back to you with some material that you can discuss later. And this could be about any type of change: medication, smoking, drug use, getting married, getting a new job, leaving your town, going somewhere else. Any kind of ambivalence includes decisional balance, and decision making. That might be a helpful tool for you to consider working with ambivalent patients. At some point, talking to the clients, talking to the patients, you will hear, if you are strategic enough, you will hear the difference in their statements from ambivalent, I might need to do it, or I don't like it, but I think I need to do it because my wife said so. You will start hearing stronger and stronger language in favor of changing. Yes, I want to do it. Yes, I think I can do it. I ought to do it because of whatever. Definitely I should do it, and I will. I will go to this gym. I still don't like the treadmill machine, but I will go there. I just purchased a pair of Nike shoes and I paid my membership. You see, the person made a huge investment, not monetary investment, emotional investment. Now the person paid $50, $60 for the training shoes and paid the membership to the gym. What will happen if the person doesn't go to the gym? That will make the person look stupid in his or her own eyes. And we don't like look stupid to ourselves, let alone to other people. So you see, there is a huge commitment right there that I would definitely reinforce. I would definitely capitalize on that because the person made a step. There is the gym process hasn't started yet, but the patient, the person had already done something that clearly tells me that the patient, with proper stimulation and proper strategy, that we can succeed. When we see more of these verbal expressions that tell us that the resistance is less, the ambivalence is less, the patient is discussing the problem less and less, and more the conversations are about the possible ways to resolve it. when we hear more change talk and different types of change talk, particularly commitment and activation and taking steps, when the patient starts asking more questions, okay, tell me, how do you think I should do that? I'm willing to do it, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it the right way. And you see the patient experimenting with change. This actually tells me that this might be a good time to start with the action planning, with some planning in general, when I see more and more readiness, and when I see that the patient is actually more and more prepared to start the planning. Planning is impossible if we don't have sufficient engagement with the person. Planning is impossible if we don't have a clear target behavior, what we call a focus. If we don't know what are we talking about specifically, what exactly change we are referring to. Planning is impossible if I did not explore with the patient his or her opinion how to go about doing that, what might help. So we took care of these three processes within the motivational interviewing. And now, if we are strategic, if we are successful with the patient, that actually the patient gave us the privilege and the luxury to start doing some planning. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. I would like to wish you good luck in your way of learning strategies to assist the patients. And I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to share with you some thoughts that might be helpful to you. Thank you.